So, it's been about 1 year since the Xbox Series X released. While some people are still struggling to get their hands on a next-gen console thanks to shortages and scalpers, we've been fortunate enough to have our hands on one for 1 year now. So, with actively using it and playing on it for a year, how's it going? Well, let's talk. Keep in mind, we're making this video with no intention to fan the flames of any console wars or anything like that. We play on everything. So we got one of these videos coming out for PlayStation 5 soon as well. Keep your eyes peeled. And now maybe once PC finally releases PC 2, we'll cover that as well. But for now, we're gonna talk about what it's been like owning one and using one for a year, what Microsoft is doing, how the console is doing, and what's next down the line. So first, let's talk hardware. The console itself is still really big, and finding room for it was an adjustment, but that's really subjective because everyone has different living and gaming spaces. Long-term use though, let's talk sound. In our Before You Buy video, we mentioned that the Xbox Series X was extremely quiet. Sometimes tech like a console or a new laptop seem quiet when you first get it, but they get rowdy later on as some things get more demanding and games get more intense and stuff like that. But after a few months, more beastly games were available on the console somewhat, and some stuff we feel like would really push the hardware, and still, it's all quiet. The fan never kicks up super loud, and the sound, you won't even notice. One thing hardware-wise worth pointing out that we learned long-term, the HDMI port can become a little bit loose over time. It's a bit weak. This is common. We see this with HDMI ports all the time, but specifically here, it was a little bit more worrisome because sometimes the connection weakened in terms of it actually displaying on screen, but ours actually did get alarmingly loose. Now, we also use thick, sturdy HDMI cables, and I do unplug it every so often to change setups and swap between consoles. So if you plug your console in and never touch it, don't worry, you're probably totally fine. But if you move your stuff around occasionally, just be careful. He's a sensitive little port. Now, one thing that grew on us were the expansion port memory card things. The solid state expansions are technically proprietary, and we're not the biggest fan of that, especially considering the prices are pretty damn steep. Currently $220 on Amazon for a 1 terabyte expansion, steep, but it's fast and just as zippy as the storage inside the thing. And what we've grown to like is just how seamless it is. We got it close to launch, we plugged it in ages ago and totally forgot about it. It works really nicely with the Xbox interface. It expands the storage number, but it also is showing you which is on board and which is on the card. And you have the options to utilize both, but generally what it did was just plug in and seamlessly double our storage with no fuss. Is it as cool as popping open the whole console and directly adding our favorite brand of storage? Not quite, but it's worth pointing out. Hardware-wise, that's really about it. The console is super low-key and pretty much what you'd expect. Same goes for the controller. The new one is still just a solid, dependable Xbox One controller with some updates, and the extra texture, which is really nice, and the additional dedicated share button. No complaints, and good battery life. Now, in terms of games for the Xbox Series X, we're still kind of in the same boat as we were a year ago when it launched, where we don't really have many technical exclusives, and more just have some really good-looking third-party games. But things are improving, especially lately with Forza Horizon 5 being great and Halo Infinite coming out finally soon after so many delays. Now, yes, they will also be on PC and also Xbox One, sure, but in terms of where to play them on console, Series X will definitely be the place to play them. It's just how their strategy is, so we're rolling with that. Third-party titles like Assassin's Creed Valhalla really shined on Series X, running at 4K 60. The English countryside looked really damn good on Series X, and when the sun would start to set, it looked really darn good. We found the Series X as our go-to for some multi-platform third-party games, just because of how well they typically perform. It's also fun to just go back and play older games that have received updates or really just benefit from the extra power. Now, then specifically, you get the games that had launched prior to Xbox Series X that got upgrades that were worth revisiting for. Games like Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which got a Series X upgrade that supported 120 frames per second, looked pretty buttery smooth if you had a TV that supported that refresh rate. Or even Sea of Thieves, which was already a pretty game, was also updated to run at 4K 60 on Series X. The same can be said about Gears 5 and Forza Horizon 4. The Series X made them look so good that they were worth revisiting just to see what the machine was capable of, and we've had fun doing that. Then you get stuff like GTA 4, old stuff that's like actually playable now because of the Series X. It's nice. Microsoft Flight Simulator, another example. This actually is not on Xbox One and is only on Series X and S, and of course PC, so it's one of the few Series X and S console exclusive games. This is a PC-ass game that seems like only a really big PC could handle, but seeing it run on Series X and also hold its own is quite the impressive feat, and really shows you what the Series X is capable of and hopefully capable of down the line. We also got the Medium this year as a timed exclusive temporarily, and that was okay. Psychonauts 2, though, is another standout. That is available on PS4 as well, technically, but it's Microsoft published, and playing it on a Series X is the move. It runs at 4K 60, has 1440, 120 FPS support, and also has really quick load times. Honestly, though, Xbox aside, you should try to play Psychonauts 2 wherever, because it's just that good. It's old school gaming goodness. Then, of course, most recently, it's all about Forza Horizon 5. It's just a really damn good game. If you've played Forza Horizon games, you probably get it. It's more here, but it's just a really good, well-rounded one. The game looks beastly on the console. There's a performance mode and a quality mode, and both are pushing high resolutions and pretty kick-ass visuals. You know, between this hardware, HDR, and a nice TV, you'll be satisfied, at least for now. Not to repeat our review, some of it's kind of the same, but after a year, Quick Resume is a really valuable feature. The ability to have your games completely suspended and then you fire it up by clicking on it and then it's just boom, right there. Absolutely awesome. Once you get used to the feature, you almost just kind of take it for granted. It is that good. For some people, it might not feel super groundbreaking, but if you bounce around between a couple of select games here and there, maybe you play multiplayer here and you're working on the single player game, it is very useful. In terms of other interface stuff, you know, the Xbox actual dashboard has gotten better over time. It's still a little cluttered, a little messy, but the way we look at it, we're not super happy with the PS5 interface. We're not happy with the Series X interface. We're not happy with the PS4, the Xbox One. It's always been hard to really give a really good, simple, well-rounded interface, so they're gonna keep trying, all the companies. We'll see where it goes. The other part of the equation is the other moves Microsoft has been making alongside the hardware. Xbox Game Pass, specifically, is a really good value. You know, we're not fans of like the all digital future where we don't own any games, but if you want to play a ton of games and you're on a budget, Game Pass is just a really good value. Like, we're not shilling for it or anything, just kind of stating the obvious. If you do the math and look at it, you know, there's a lot of games on here. It's a subscription service, so you do got to pay extra for it, but it does improve the experience overall. The access is really nice, along with the newly rolled out ability to stream some of your games to your phone or laptop as well with Xbox Cloud streaming. Just makes things feel nicely fleshed out. That is, of course, if you're willing to go all in on the Xbox ecosystem. Now, looking forward, hopefully within the next year or so, we get even more first-party Xbox titles to play on Series X. Forza Horizon 5 is here, I mentioned that, but Halo Infinite is also right around the corner, and on the horizon, we have stuff like Bethesda games, like specifically Starfield, eventually Elder Scrolls, Obsidian's big RPG, Avowed, Stalker 2, Redfall, Hellblade 2, a couple of others that we don't have time to mention, but even Fable. That's just what we know about. There are very likely other things in the works with Microsoft's other acquired studios. There was definitely a bit of an undeniable lull, but as the acquired studios get to work and possibly other studios get on board, it does take a while to make games, but we're expecting to have a nice steady drip of more good games. Is it enough? For some people, it definitely should be by that point, but every consumer has different tastes and opinions. Now, for how it's doing, it seems to be selling well, despite hardware supply constraints. As of late October 2021, according to analyst Daniel Ahmad, Xbox Series X and S sales have crossed 8 million units. Xbox hasn't officially revealed hardware sales numbers. This is just an educated estimate by a professional analyst. A lot of their money coming in is also from the services that we mentioned before. According to GameSpot, Microsoft's gaming division had revenue of $3.6 billion for the July-September quarter, which was the biggest July-September quarter in the company's history for Xbox. Microsoft seems to be totally down with continuing supporting the gaming endeavors and the different types of moves, as expressed multiple times by Microsoft head Satya Nadella himself. Really, they have been making interesting moves with Xbox. You know, we're not biased towards the platform, but in terms of news and announcements they make consistently, along with just interesting strategies like putting their games on Steam day one, just unexpected stuff. It just makes for interesting conversations if you like talking about the inside baseball of the video game industry. Even if you don't have an Xbox or you're not really into Xbox, you got to admit that like the moves are at least interesting. Yeah, are players digging it though? It seems like it, but it's worth pointing out that it is still very, very much the early days of the Xbox Series XS life cycle. Both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S have only been out for a year, and many developers are still making games for the previous generation still, kind of. So we're only really just getting started. But we've been enjoying the hardware, some interesting games, and access to a bunch of fun third-party stuff. That's just us though. This is really a two-way street because we want to specifically hear your experiences in the comments. Did you manage to get your hands on one? Have you been enjoying it? Do you use it for media or just for games? Are you streaming your games? Do you have Game Pass? Let us know your experiences, for research purposes and stuff. That's just a little quickie how we've been feeling 1 year later with this thing. Again, keep your eyes peeled out for 1 year later for PS5 as well. We will link that when that's available, but thank you guys for watching, and it's worth mentioning, clicking the like button is all you gotta do to help us out if you had fun here. We'd very much appreciate that, but if you're new, consider subscribing because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.